So welcome everyone to Business Women Australia's online workshop. This was originally planned for the 18th of July, and we found that Fridays, that particular Friday, we had a couple online and we decided to open it up for a different date. So here we are in August. So thank you, Jess, and thank you to those ladies who were happy to change the date so that we could have all these lovely ladies who are interested in learning about things. It's not a webinar, and we didn't get the opportunity because I was away in Bali on the Leaders Retreat to change all the naming of this, but it's actually a workshop. So for those of you who are listening to the recording and might be new to Business Women Australia or involved here, I'm the National Director of Business Women Australia and the co-founder of Business Women Australia 10 years ago. So we're celebrating our 10 years today. Before we commence everything that we're going to be learning and trialing and practicing, I'd like to acknowledge the lands in which we're meeting. This is sacred sovereign lands of traditional owners across this country who have danced and celebrated, who have cared for and nurtured this land for hundreds of thousands of years. And I pay my respects to all elders, past, present, and emerging, and celebrate Indigenous sisters in business, many of who we have within our community. So that is fantastic. What we do could not be done without these extraordinary supporters and sponsors. And it's wonderful to have Jessica on today, because Jessica's been one of our longest collaborators and supporters, and a shareholder who's helped keep Business Women Australia really from folding on many occasions, to be honest. There were times when we wondered if we were really putting more energy into this than what people wanted. But I think it's been shown now that we're very glad that we've kept it going. It is with people like Jessica's support that we've able to survive and thrive. And we really are becoming one of the most connected communities nationally that connect women across different sectors and different areas of their leadership in their communities. And that's why these sorts of topics that we're doing today are so important. When you look at our calendar, you can see there's a lot of there's a mixture of topics, because our leaders across the board have such a wealth of experience and generosity of spirit that they bring to our community to share that, so we can all grow and develop. We've got our podcast, so please follow and like and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform that you have, or if you're not on a platform, you can usually find our podcast, or in fact all our podcasts, sitting on the BWA website, available to everybody. Planning for a Wise Retirement with Belinda Von Knowles coming up, and Exit Ready, how to prepare strategic business transition. So if you're an owner of a business and you're thinking about your exit and how to keep your business sustainable, whether that's through employee share options, or selling your business, or going to an IPO listing, this is a great time to tune into that podcast with Amanda Cole, and I will get her to run an online Q&A session too, so that I'm sure lots of questions will come out of that podcast. On the 27th of August, we're back online with some coaching with Kerry Nobes on the Confident Facilitator, and we'll be practicing some facilitation tools on that one. Every month, our members meet on the last Thursday of every month, online, virtually, across the states, across the nation. So please, if you're thinking about joining, I'd be very happy for you to come along to one of those to experience that. And all our events have member and non-member tickets. So if you just want to put your toe in the water and considering membership, that's a great thing to come along and book in as an explorer. That coaching with the facilitator that you can see in there is actually a series. I think there's a 4-part series. September and October is another one. I think the final one is in November. But have a look. It's all the details are on the website for that. And we've got Perth Cheats and Chats, The Art of Belonging, on the 16th of October. Brisbane's organising another catch-up. They had something recently. Sunshine Coast had something last week, and they've got another one booked in now for me to help promote. And Melbourne have got some things on the go as well that we're adding to the calendar. So across the nation, we've got so much happening. And Sydney too, they just recently had one as well. So I'm so excited to see all the in-person events really starting again. So our areas of development that we've been focusing on historically have been around the leadership piece around leading self and leading others, around business improvement, around personal growth. That's the leading self piece, influence and profile, and connecting. And you can follow us across all those channels. And I would love to talk to those who aren't members already about becoming either a classic or a leader member, or a sponsor and partner, or a couple of those. It'd be lovely to have some more sponsors and partners. So I'm going to hand over to the fabulous Jessica Schubert. As I said to you, Jessica's been really instrumental. She took on the role very early to be our head of leadership development because of the work that she does in developing and supporting an executive coaching of individuals, executives, and teams, empowering them to reach their goals and dreams. She's extraordinary and open-minded human. She's had so much experience across Europe and Asia with cross-cultural teams. I think that's been some of our really interesting work that we've done. And she helps organisations create workplace cultures where people are happy and productive. And you'll see why. The other wonderful thing is that Jessica has disc flow. She's the licensee for that across APAC region, and runs workshops training people on the use of that disc flow in their organisation. So if you're looking for a great tool that helps with communication and understanding of your teams, then Jessica's a great person to talk to about that and about her programs. So over to you, Jess.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the introduction, Lynn. Really excited to be here with all of you. And thank you for positioning it in a way that I coach executives and I help organizations with cultural change to create really a culture that supports not just the strategy, but helps to develop people so they're happy and productive. That's sort of my tagline, and happy comes first, then productive. Now, I haven't come to this work in a straight line. I have come to the work that I do now, where I, as a coach, leadership facilitator, designer, and consultant, work with organizations. I actually came to that from my work as a leader. If you're wondering, by the way, about my last name particularly, but also my accent, I'm from Germany originally, but I've lived on this side of the world for a long time. Lynn already mentioned that I lived and worked in New Zealand, both Sydney and Melbourne. I lived in Hong Kong for 6 years. I spent some time in Japan as well, and now I've been back here for 8 years. And it was in Hong Kong where I was a sales director in the commercial real estate industry, where I came to use coaching skills, because my team I was leading there grew from 5 to 25 over a short period of time, within a year. And my approach to this larger team, I was using my old approach and it wasn't working anymore. And someone said to me, Jess, you need to learn how to coach, bring coaching into your toolbox and into your approach, because it's really about empowering the people around you. Yeah, you're a great leader, but your team is too dependent on you, because you solve issues for them all the time. You make decisions for them, and they need to learn how to learn, and coaching is great. And I'm like, wonderful. Did my coaching certification. Lynn has been through the same process, and I have a feeling some of you have dabbled in that as well, or as a matter of fact, certified, I'm not sure. But I did my certification. So watch out what this can lead to, because at the end of my certification, I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So first of all, it helped me to be a better leader, because the skills I learned there, of course, are applicable to be able to add coaching to your approach and to your skill set. But for me, it was then a profession. The thing I want to share with you that might be important is that when I started the coaching certification, I hated it. Like the first day out of 3 days training, and I see Nicole smiling, I was like, what is this? What do you mean I can't give advice? But I've got so much to say and I can really help this person. And I had to really learn to let go and unlearn my old ways of work, of communication and interacting, because again, I was in problem solving mode. So I had to unlearn to learn how to coach. And that was sort of the biggest learning for me. The foundational skills of coaching, listening really well and asking good questions and asking more questions that you usually do, I think they're quite clear to people, but doing it is a different thing. So I encourage you to think about what is it you might want to unlearn if you want to bring more coaching into your practice as a leader to be able to use this new approach. Now, I want to do an exercise, an activity. I promised you this is going to be interactive. So can I ask everyone to actually, if it's safe, so Jana, not for you, I'll get you to listen, but everyone else, can you stand up and just, tilt your, computer in a way so you're sort of like me, where you can see the upper part of your body, and have your hands right in front of you. So feet hip distance apart, have your hands in front of you, elbows just sort of loosely next to your body. You can do it sitting if you want, of course. But we need to be able to see your hands, Nicole. If you can just tilt yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. So what I would like you to do is with your right hand, I just want you to point the pointy finger. Yeah, just point towards me. Okay, just forward. And left hand, I want you to raise your thumb. Okay, thumb. So right hand, pointy finger, index finger, left hand, thumb. Now, on 3, I want you to swap. 1, 2, 3, swap. Okay, I've got like some confusion there. I've got a couple of guns there. Okay, Lauren, you've done this before. That's good. Okay, we're going to do this again. Yeah, on 3, I want you to swap. 1, 2, 3, swap. Okay, that was a bit smoother. 1, 2, 3, swap. How's that one going? For some, it's better. For some, it's gone back to revert to, I can't do this. Okay, we're going to go a bit faster. 1, 2, 3, swap. 1, 2, 3, swap. 1, 2, 3, swap. Swap, 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 swap. Wonderful. Thank you very much. You can take a seat. First of all, Lauren, congratulations. You've obviously done this activity before and have practiced this. And what does it take? Half an hour in front of your TV really to, master this. But why do you think everything we do, of course, has to do with coaching and coaching skills? Why do you think I did that activity? Just unmute yourself. We're a small group. We can just all throw in. Why did I do this activity?
Activates the left and right side of your brain.
Yes, wonderful. Thanks. What else?
Practice.
Practice. Thank you. What else?
Breaks the ice a little bit. That was a giggle.
Wonderful. Great. What else?
Wakes everybody up and gets them all engaged.
Engagement. Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. What else?
About feeling the pressure of things getting faster when you're not actually haven't got the ability yet, and the pressure. For me, I was feeling a lot of pressure when you were going so fast, and I was really wanting to get it right,
Yes.
And it wasn't right for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to do it at my own pace. I'm just going to ignore Jess going faster.
I'm going to do my way. Yeah.
Slow down.
So what was the emotion when it didn't work, Lynn?
I was feeling like, I really need to practice this. I was, I had a lot of stuff going on in my head, like, mate, like this is activating my right and left brain. It's like one was better than the other. And I had a lot of stuff going on in my head straight away.
Yes. Yeah. But when we're doing something that feels uncomfortable, is out of our norm, something new, then we do it in front of other people even, right? Can feel uncomfortable. I often hear, that's so frustrating. I even stop. Now I'm going to do my own thing. And that's what happens when we do something new. And that's how I felt on that first day of when I learned coaching. It's uncomfortable to do something new. The other reason why I did this as well, so when I instructed you what to do, how you stand and hand and this finger and that thumb, it wasn't hard to understand cognitively what and intellectually what I wanted you to do, right? Like, thumb, finger, and then she wants me to swap. It makes sense. Then you had to do it, and it was a different story. So we call this activity the knowing doing gap, and you might have heard this in other contexts already as well. So with anything new you learn, what we find is adopting new skills, it really helps to find out what is your knowing doing gap. because the mission really is here to get a bit of a taster today, of course, but also how can you apply those coaching skills in your day-to-day work? Now, where is it working? Where is it not working? But what is it you know about coaching? But how much are you doing it, and what's the knowing doing gap for you? So have your radar on for this, sort of mini session. Like when we certify people, this is like a seven-week course, right? It just gives you a taster today. But the knowing doing gap helps you to know where your gap is and then being able to close it. And we find this with so many soft skills, right? We understand the theory behind it, we see the model, and we're like, but how do I actually apply it? And applied coaching, so transformational leader as coach skills are all about that. And also, I don't know if you noticed, all I did was ask you, what else, what else, what else? And again, just demonstrating, and I made very few comments, but you all had something to share. That coaching in a nutshell is, especially in when you applied in your organization or with your team, ask more questions than you usually would, and ask open questions, and ask questions where your team members or the people around you, of course, this works with stakeholders and clients, coaching skills in a sales context work really well. Ask questions your counterpart or your coachee doesn't have the answer to yet. Because coaching is learning how to learn, and it's helping someone to get from where they are to where they ought to be. So they might have been told to be there. They might have chosen their own goal, or overcoming a challenge, but it's not telling, and I'll go into this in a little bit. So find out where your knowing doing gap is. What I love everyone to do is, as we are going through the concept, and I'll share the objectives, just head to the chat and just give us a one-liner. Who are you and what you do? Just so we have an introduction on the chat. So just your name, and we can see your name in the chat already, but what you do, and then I get you to do something else as well. So as we're doing that, I'll just share sort of the mission today and how we work together. So my mission really is for you to be able to shift from transactional leadership. So that's what I was doing. I was managing a lot, and I was helping to solve problems. I was giving advice, and it was only working to a certain boundary. So to be able to make that shift, to be able to use transformational coaching, but also practice a little bit today, because I always find, even when I go to a webinar, if I do something with that, if I can close my own knowing doing gap, chances are, even if it means I write it down, I talk it through, and then I apply it, it helps me to actually apply it in my work, but also to be able to embed that coaching in your leadership. So think about, again, and I'll ask you to create that in a second as well. How are you actually going to use it, and how's it going to help you in leadership? There's a place and time for coaching, but there's also a place and time for some of the other roles you have. And again, I'll walk you through that today. So the way we work together today, and then I'll have a look at the check-in there as well, is it's going to be interactive. So you're going to go into breakout rooms a couple of times, and you're actually going to coach someone. So for that, there was an email up front just before we jumped online, because Lynn and I thought if we sent it a week ago, no one is going to find it. But also, I will also share the Grow Coaching questions. We're going to use them right at the end. But if you want to have a look and open them up already, some of you might want to even print them out. So just head to the chat and do this. Now, because we are sharing and you are coaching, can I just see a physical hand up from everyone about confidentiality? We want you to spread the skills, but please don't share what you hear from your coaching counterpart, from your coachee or your coach in the room. Thank you very much. And it's actually one of the first principles that's really important, that coaching, confidentiality in coaching is really important. That's almost a little bit harder when you use as a team leader or in your organization when you coach others, because you're sitting right in the context. For an external coach, it's easier because we're not working for the same organization. So wonderful. Thank you for introductions, everyone. Here, Lauren, wonderful. Consulting, starting your own business, and wonderful. This is going to be helpful for you. Oh, we've got author and life coach podcaster, Teresa. Thank you. Nicole, also business owner, consulting, supporting clients across BITS tenders, wonderful. Kristen, private banker, wonderful. And I shared with other people actually with that organization. I've done a lot of this work and it's been really helpful. So thank you very much for doing this. Confidentially we have. Okay, so the next thing I want you to think about, and again, share this in chat and keep it as short as you can. If in 8 words or less, you can create a goal for you for today. What do you want to leave with at 2 p.m.? And why that is important, I explain to you in a second, but just think about, I'll give you a minute to think about, and write in 8 words or less, what's your goal for this session today? What do you want to leave with at 2 o'clock? And everyone needs to share this because you're going to use this later on. You might anyway. Okay, wonderful. Lauren, first up, enhance my coaching skills and have practical tools to take away. Wonderful. Great. Thank you. Kristen, learn to coach through my own learning. Wonderful. Great. There's going to be, I promise you, there's going to be takeaways for you as a coach, but it also helps with self-coaching. Practice my radical listening so I can be a better leader. Wonderful, Lynn. And there's going to be an activity on listening. So you'll feel where you're listening from. So let's see how that works. Nicole, strategies to connect with and coach my team and clients. Great. Wonderful. Who else have we not heard from? I've got Anne, Nicole. Let me just bring up a different view so I've got everyone here on the same. And Jan, I know that you can't type, so just keep in mind for you what you want to get out of this. Learn to be a better leader, coach of a team of contractors. Wonderful. Here's the thing, ladies, the coaching skills work in any context because it's about being able to empower someone else. And we finally do less of the talking and the advice giving, but we empower other people through not just the skills, but our approach and our mindset as well. As a leader, you have so many other roles though. And I know there are probably more participants in here today and learners in here today who want to be able to coach in a, consulting way or, and as a coach, this is focused on when you're coaching within organizations. So of course it works with your own teams and your own organization as well. So let's take this view, because when you think about it, even in a, in your own consulting organization, you'll have different roles, even to your clients. And I take this view as well. So let's have a look at these roles. And we're not so much after job descriptions. This is more about when you're wearing this hat, when you are in this role, what do you need to do to be effective in this role? And I want you to help me briefly or quickly to get through these, but also think about, when you do these roles, when you wear this hat, effectively, what is it you're doing? And I want to start with leading. So just unmute yourself. You can use the chat as well. What does leading look like? What do you do? What's leading, Lynn?
For me, a big realization after the retreat was it's about understanding and knowing myself and being able to explore and discover aspects of myself, and to do that with others so I can understand aspects of them. It's more to me an awareness and an intention to become more aware and conscious,
right,
so that I can go somewhere that I may not have explored before and do that.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. Yeah. So it's first knowing yourself, who you are, what's important, your own vision and purpose. And it's great to work on that. The way that then shows up is leading from the front. So in general terms, when you do this well, what people would see you do is create a vision. Here's where we had it. It's big picture. It's inspiring. People want to follow you. That's the kind of conversation you have or the kind of relationship you have with people. And what's interesting when we look at the next one, managing, and I'll just give you this one, then ask you for mentoring. So managing and leading is often sort of put in the same pot, and I observe leaders in organization organizations say, yeah, I'm leading. I'm like, no, you're managing, or vice versa. Managing is about the day to day. Managing is about getting stuff done. So when you're managing people, you help them, you support them to be able to deliver what they need to deliver. This is about KPIs, OKRs. It's really, being able to deliver the work that needs to be done on time. And it's quite different, leading, managing. But both roles are important. Now, what's mentoring when you do it well?
I always see it as bringing out the best in others, but through questions and, exploring their aspirations, what they want to learn, and really more around that encouragement. But I think a lot of it is probing questions.
Thank you, Anne. So you ask questions. It's about, helping them. So mentoring, what's interesting, Anne, is that mentoring and coaching gets misconstrued most of the time when you look at any roles in terms of coaching. And again, a lot of people say to me, oh, I've been coaching my teams for a long time, and I observe them. I'm like, you're doing a really good job, but it's mentoring. Mentoring is, of course, asking questions, and it's then sharing from a sort of point of, it's imparting wisdom. It's sharing experience. What you hear mentors say, apart from, of course, asking questions, is, hey, I've been there. Let me share with you how I solved it. Sometimes it's opening doors as well and helping with career, but it's usually someone who's either more experienced or more senior. It doesn't have to be. I've been part of mentoring sort of circles where, there were, others who were younger than me and they still mentored me, because it could be a little bit of expertise, but it's sharing wisdom and experience. Now, when you're training effectively, I think this one is the easier one, right? It's transferring skills. You show someone what to do and how to do it. You guide them through it, but you're transferring skills. Counseling is an interesting one, and this has become so important for leaders these days, to be able to wear this hat and wear it well. This is about listening with empathy. And sometimes it's helping to solve a problem. That's on, often it's on the emotional side, or it's something personal. Sometimes it's showing someone the right direction. So in organizations, Kristen, I know you've got a fabulous EOP, path. You've got great contacts, and we'd always share that website as well with, people around you, your colleagues. It's not for you to diagnose, but if you notice someone is not doing well, there are lots of paths. So sometimes it's just listening, sometimes it's supporting and giving some advice, and sometimes it's showing the way. But it's counseling is not coaching. And I feel sometimes, Lynn, I don't know about you, but sometimes I get this, so like, oh my God, Jess, it's, it feels like a counseling session. Well, that's probably where, where I need to know where my boundary is, because counseling effective is not coaching, and effective coaching is not counseling. So just being able to know what the different roles are. Consulting, I'll just give that one to you as well. We've got consultants here, and you probably go like, Jess, that's not an apt description, but it's you being asked, what's our problem here? What does it look like? Come and help solve the problem and how we do it, and you are actively involved in that. Very simple terms. So then consultants usually go like, Jess, that's too simple, but we're going to keep it simple, because the focus, of course, Nicole is laughing, is on coaching. And coaching, you can see it's in the middle as its own hat, as its own role, but it's also connected to the other ones. So a couple of things here. When you are just wearing the coaching hat, so I know from Lynn is a certified coach, and when she coaches, and all she has is her coaching hat on. She doesn't go and manage that person. She doesn't change all of a sudden into, let me counsel you. Or, oh, I've got, I know how to do this. Let me show you practically how to do this, because that's training. So coaching, what we also call like the big C coaching, is when you're just wearing the coaching hat, and you predominantly ask questions, you're listening. You might do a bit of reflecting what's happening in the room, but you're not giving advice, you're not mentoring. Now, we're not here to do that today. We are looking at what we call the small C coaching, and this is where, those connections come from, where when you are in an organization, or you're in a relationship, in a certain context with, even a client, is where you add and bring in a coaching approach to any of the other roles. I'll give you an example. So you might be managing someone. So you had a meeting with one of your direct team members. They've presented something, and you give them some feedback. So you give them some feedback on what you observed, what they did well, something they could do better, whatever form of feedback you use. And then you ask open questions to bring dialogue back in. How did you think you went? What did you notice? If you had your time again, what could you do better? You bring in open questions for your team member, your peer, your colleague, your stakeholder to think for themselves. And it could be same in the training. You're training someone. You ask open questions. So what did you just hear? How would you approach it? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? Open questions to bring dialogue back in, to empower and to not be, on the side of, giving too much advice. Now, I would like, and we're not going to do breakout rooms because we're such a small group, but first of all, I'm going to pause. Any questions about the role? So the reason why I bring this up is that as a leader, even when you're a consultant, to be really clear on when are you leading, when are you managing, when are you mentoring, training, counseling, and when are you coaching, but also then, that shift to when can I bring coaching into any of the other roles? Any questions? It's quite it's not a difficult model.
I've got a little trick I've just recently worked on with that, particularly that came out of after the leaders retreat. I had one of the members come to me afterwards and said, Lynn, I really need some help with where I'm at with my business in terms of my career and getting a role. And she said, can I have a coaching session with you? And I said, do you want me to hold space and ask you lots of questions for you to come up with it? Or are you asking for my advice on what I would do in your situation? She said, I want your advice. And I said, you want me to be a mentor, not a coach?
Yes.
So book in as a mentor session. Just make a note that you want me to be a mentor. And then I'll know that you use that 30 minutes to say what I would do and what I've learned.
Yes. Yeah.
For example,
And I get this question, Lynn, often like, so can you coach someone when they don't know they're being coached, so they don't want to be coached? I'm like, no. And one of the easiest way and approaches to solve this is ask someone, do you need my advice? Because sometimes it's like, there's a time and place for all of these roles, right? And when you have a new team member or someone, they clearly don't know what they're doing, then we're training, If they need, if we see that we need to manage their performance, coaching is actually not the right approach. And sometimes it's good to actually ask, what do you want from me? The solution, or do you want being coached? You want me to ask you questions? You want to get there by yourself? For that, of course, people need to know what that is, but it's a really good way. And another tip here as well is when you are coaching someone and it is a coaching session, call it a coaching session. I always pull up my clients when they sent me the invite and they're like, coffee catch up with Jess. I'm like, no, please rename the title. It's a coaching session. Otherwise, they go into that session already thinking, or with that sort of approach, we're just having a chat. Coaching is not a chat. It's not, counseling or mentoring. We have to name it, and they're your coaching counterpart. Even when you just ask them questions, you need to contract around that sort of permission. Can I ask you some questions? Is that all right? So they know what's happening. What I'd love to do, and we're not going to do this in a breakout room, but just have a think about it and then just share it out loud. When you look back at the roles, which roles do you spend most of the time in, and what impact does it have on your team if you're a team leader in particular? But even when you think about how you work with clients or, in your own smaller team, because this is focused on, helping people who work in organizations. So I'll go back to this so you can see it. What are the roles you've spent most of your time in, and how does it impact your team? So my story gives you just a minute to think about it. When I was in Hong Kong, I was managing a lot. I was leading a little bit. I might have been mentoring. We did a ton of training, but I wasn't coaching. And that was my real sort of aha moment when I looked into what coaching was and the coaching approach. So I became certified to become a better leader, to use that leader as coach approach, not to become a coach. It just then happened because I loved it. But it helped me to use my coaching skills and approaches in my work, because all of a sudden I was going into one-on-ones and into meetings, and I was empowering the people around me. I was stop managing all the time. When they came to me with, Jess, do you have 5 minutes? I'm like, well, I've got two. How can I help you? And I would ask them questions rather than giving them the straight out answer, because they're just used to me solving everything. And I was spreading myself too thinly, and I wasn't an available great leader. So I'd love to hear from a couple of you, and that might mean nothing, but you are unmuted. And what would you say? Where do you spend most of your time, and where would you like to spend more time?
I would say that I spend most of my time in leading and managing in my role.
Yeah.
And yeah, where I would like to spend more time would be in the coaching and mentoring.
Coaching and mentoring, wonderful. And even for you to know, and what does mentoring look like when you do it well, and not mix it up with, like, so if you want to bring coaching in, it's two really specific skills. And what is mentoring? Like Lynn said, you've sort of fallen into that trap, but now you know, and you ask, do you want me to mentor you, or do you want me to coach you? Is really good.
Yeah.
Kristen, I'm really interested and intrigued to know from you, and because I think I know your context probably the best out of all, because I worked with many of your people. Where do you spend most of your time now? What's the impact on the team, and where would you like to spend more time?
I think I'm in a bit of a unique position because I've come from another large corporate institution into this one. And so when I was talking about my learning, it's been getting through my own change process while trying to lead and coach. And I probably am mirroring what you were talking about as your experience, which is I'm probably very much in managing or training, and not so much in the coaching space. So trying to bring attention back into that to be able to focus on it, even as I continue down, my own path, getting across a newer organization and network.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Kristen. Yeah. And, of course, this is music to my ears, and, that's why we're here to hear from you. I want to add more coaching to my leadership. The question is how you do this. Let me show you this first. And I love this one. Again, Lynn, this probably rings true to you as well. A coach has some great questions for you, for your answers. A mentor has some great answers for your questions. Think about where's your knowing doing it. How often do you notice, oh, this is a coaching moment. Hold on. What does that look like? No, this is a mentoring moment. And here's where I really need to manage, or here's, where I need to coach. But because, of course, we don't want you to, that everything looks like, if the nail is sort of identified as like coaching moment, so the only tool you use is coaching, which is your hammer. We don't want you to do that. And I experienced that sort of the hard way. We were working with Aldi Australia wide, and helping them to adopt coaching skills. And what they were doing is that, especially the store managers, they would go back into the store, and your team member would say, how do I build the middle aisle? The Best Buys that everyone loves. And they're like, well, what do you think? So they just started asking more questions, and that wasn't the right approach. So it's still, of course, important to know, what hat am I wearing? But coaching is about asking more questions. And leader as transformational coach, what that looks like is that, if you have, leadership and you've got coaching as two different hats, really all you're doing is you're looking at where it intersects. And my mission was, when I did my coaching, completed my coaching certification, and I said to the facilitator, I'm like, well, I'm certified now. How do I use this really in my job as I'm not an executive coach, and I probably have some coaching sessions where I just coach, but a lot of my interactions are bringing coaching into my practice as a team leader. And he's like, Jess, have your radar on in your leadership. Where's an opportunity to use coaching so you empower your people? So you stop giving advice all the time, where you think like, that person, in that conversation or that situation, they either know the answer with a little bit of, or maybe a lot of effort, they can get to the answer, or they know where to go to find the answer. Because otherwise your team members become dependent on you, and they stop learning how to learn, and it's really pushing it back. So when you've been working with leaders yourself, where you're like, wow, it was a hard leader, they always make me work hard for it, they always sent me off, and think about your own solution first. That doesn't mean that they let me fall over, but they empowered me to be able to figure it out for myself. Coaching is really learning how to learn, upgrading that learning system. Now, we talked about listening before, Lynn. We're going to do an activity on this in a second, but I just wanted to show you this continuum again, just to show you that, of course, on the right-hand side, yeah, it's called the push approach, yeah, which feels more controlling, where we tell. So the tell roles you have is leading, managing, training, even mentoring is probably more tell, where we give advice. You know, so we tell people what to do, how to do it, and we give advice. There's a time and place for that. So don't forget about that, right? But think about, where do you have the opportunity to move into a more empowering and pull approach, where you ask questions, you might paraphrase. Just be really mindful with your knowing doing gap around paraphrasing. When you paraphrase in coaching, use their words and their terms, not your own interpretation. Yeah, if someone says, oh, that really frustrated me, and you later refer to this and you're like, oh, you said how angry you were about it. It's two different things. Yeah, then make sure you use their words. Yeah, or even making suggestions. Can we make suggestions in coaching? Yes, but you take your hat off. Yeah, and your coaching hat off, and you have your mentoring or your leadership or your managing hat on. The more you walk to the right-hand side. So it's a continuum, and it's really just about a good starting point is your knowing doing gap, and to notice, when is it actually a coaching moment.
Yes, can I butt in and not practice my listening skills here? But just your words then that said notice, just notice, and be aware. You made those two really powerful words. So when we're moving through and realizing that this is an opportunity of asking questions, and then there's another opportunity where it's more around that moving into the mentoring role, being aware and stopping and just checking in with yourself. This is something I've learned works with me. To improve my awareness, I stop and check, just what is this moment asking for? Because I tend to rush. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. Coaching is, we often say coaching is slowing down the process. That doesn't mean the whole world slows down. Like, you know, the learning is exponential, but it's slowing down to give your colleague, team member, coaching counterpart, coachee time to think. Yeah, not just solve, but think about what's going on now. And what I use as a sort of bit of a analogy is what the Navy SEALs say: slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Slow it down, give them the time, you know, to think and figure out, have new thoughts, learn about themselves, learn about different, you know, taking a different perspective. And then, you know, the change they're making to whatever's in front of them, you know, it could be something quite practical and tactical, or something much, much bigger. You're then becoming more fast. Now, I want to do a bit of a practice. So listening is the first sort of foundational skill of coaching. And listening is about, first of all, where do you listen from? Sorry, my cursor's all over the shop. Yeah, we'll go back. Listening is about where you're listening from and what you're listening for. And the listening arc is a helpful way of thinking about this, and we'll practice this in a second. So I would assume we always start off by listening with curiosity. Now, what's going on there? We then very quickly move into patterns, and this is listening for patterns. And this comes from two things. So first of all, our brain actually makes us thinking in patterns, because the brain is looking for patterns. The brain is a pattern recognizing machine. Yeah, the brain really checks in with our amygdala for threat and, you know, reward, then looks at, you know, patterns that it recognizes, and it just predicts of what you're doing next. That's, in very layman terms, that's how it works. So your brain would always go, do I recognize what this person says to us? And then we're really conditioned in modern work life to look for patterns as well. Oh, what have I done in the past? Yeah, I see other people do this. I know this already. I've learned this somewhere else. And the patterns lead us to finding solutions and solving problems very quickly. Yeah, and it goes faster and faster and faster. And what we do is, when we are listening for patterns, we very often, very quickly then in the middle here, Yeah, get that confirmation where you go like, yep, I know what to do here. Come on, you don't even have to stop talking. I have the solution. You know, when you have like the answer on the tip of your tongue and you can barely wait for your coaching counterpart to finish. We then come to a conclusion and very quickly go, look, love, here's what you do. And this is a modus operandi I was in constantly. And first of all, for what Lynn just said, slow it down. Yeah. Think about and notice and recognize what's actually going on here. Yeah. And you can only do this when you move back to curiosity, listening with curiosity. Now, again, this is we call it an arch, it's a continuum. It's completely normal for everyone, even experienced coaches, to start with curiosity, go into patterns and move towards conclusions. But once you're past the middle pass, there's almost no way back. And it's recognizing when you start listening for patterns. And what you notice when you're listening for patterns is when you say to yourself, yeah, I know what they're talking about. I've been there as well. So your own stories, you're like, yeah, and then you think about all of the stories where you make it about yourself. When you're on the tip of the tongue to go like, oh, I've got, yeah, I know how to, you can just finish. I know where to go. Yeah, so you've got the solution, you make it about yourself. You're not listening with curiosity anymore, where you would say, what else? That's interesting for you. I'm really curious for you. What else is coming out of, you know, in terms of thoughts out of this person? And recognizing it and just keep on moving back to the left. That's your biggest skill, in my experience, you can have when it comes to listening. Now, at least when you start with level 1 listening. So listening with curiosity. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to practice this. And I'm going to pop you into rooms with 2 people, so with another partner. And just think about, it's going to be quick and fast. So just think about a workplace challenge you have. Yeah. If it's real, even better. And if it's organizational, also good. Just something, but something small that makes for a 2-minute story. So you will tell each other about a workplace challenge, but you go one after another, not, you know, swip swap. So first agree on who's first round coach and who's first round counterpart. So coach, you just listen. I'm happy for you to nod, but you're not interrupting at all. You don't ask questions, nothing. You just listen. Counterpart, tell your workplace challenge. Yeah, 2 minutes. Make sure that you time this as well. Coach, if you want to time this, absolutely. Just so the alarm goes off after 2 minutes, then you swap. Now, the purpose of this is for the coaches. Now, so for first round coach and then second round coach, recognize how often you go in the arc from listening with curiosity to pattern, maybe even conclusion, and just see what that feels like and bring yourself back to curiosity. Notice how often it happens and what happens, just so you feel the listening arc happening in real life. So I'll give you another minute just to think about your story whilst I create the breakout rooms, and we are left with 2, 4, 5. So I only need 3 rooms. Let me create these, and you'll have 5 minutes in total, which means 2 minutes each for your story. Actually, we have Lynn, I'll pop you into a room with Teresa once I've created this. You get taken out because you're a host as well. Any questions for clarity? Yeah, this is for listening. Wonderful. I open the rooms now, and Lynn, I'll add you to room 3 in a second. Opening now. Actually, Lynn, can you just open breakout rooms and just join room 3 for me? You are back. You're back. Amazing. What did you notice with your listening arc? Curiosity, patterns. What did you notice?
I can go first. Nicole and I, because we both work in sort of a semi-consulting space, very similar, we found it really uncomfortable not to want to interject and empathise and say that, understand what they're talking about. Just sitting there, just saying nothing was really uncomfortable. Yeah, because like normally in our sort of roles, speaking on behalf of both of us, we're normally directing questions at people and receiving that feedback so that we can sort of work through things. So just sitting there and saying nothing while someone's yabbering on, you're like, I don't know, I felt a little bit uncomfortable.
Yes.
Agreed.
And that's where exactly where you should be as you start, having your radar on and recognizing, because that uncomfortableness or that sense of being uncomfortable, that holds us back from applying coaching skills, because we're so conditioned, and we have we think our counterpart, like if you're in a consulting role, they expect from us to say, oh no, of course, if you have your consulting hat on, it's a consulting conversation or relationship, that's what you do. When you coach, we often fall into these, usual roles for us. So for me, it's often that what we call, it's called that, it's like a trap. I fall into counseling. And it might be really nice and helpful, but it's not coaching. And then within coaching, if it's a paid coaching session, I'm not adding the value that I'm expected to add. And that's where the trap is. So just thinking about, what the trap is and what the emotional payoff would be. Why do we do this? So it's wonderful, Lauren. Keep on feeling that, because it's going to help you to stay in coaching if you want to coach. I just heard someone else saying something as well, Nicole. That was you, right?
Yeah, so absolutely concur with what Lauren said. It was really quite awkward, but in a good way. But it's interesting what you just sort of said then is I found myself wanting to, as a consultant, wanting to go into more of a ask questions for an analysis for a deeper understanding. So that kind of kept me in that curiosity zone, but it sort of went down a analysis questioning zone, which is what I do as a consultant, is sort of ask those analysis further questions rather than a kind of a coaching to enable them to get to their own goal and work it out themselves. So it's interesting you've said that. That is actually a bit of a brain shift. So really interesting point. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, Nicole, the difference is who you're asking the questions for. And if you ask them, so, and the expectations, you come up with something, you're like, wow, I got to know this, I got to know this, and what's the context here? So you can serve and add value as a consultant, right? It's just in coaching, we ask the question in the service of the counterpart. And and especially when you do both within an organization, I think it's much harder to coach within an organization than the job I have, where I'm an executive external coach, because I'm not ingrained in the context. But that's the big shift, Nicole. Yeah. And for you to start to think about it and have your radar.
It's a really good point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just say that even with Teresa almost tricking me in to answer and to dropping my coaching, because Teresa said, what about you? How do you find it? Which is what I'd done in my first bit, because I was just trying to shake her out of it, just listening, because I had a feeling Teresa's going to be a really good listener. She did it to me, and I nearly got in the trap, and I caught myself and went, I paraphrased her last word and said, you said that was frustrating. And it brought her back into her story. And then what she came out with then was gold. Oh, we wouldn't have got there if I had fallen into my thing of advice, like as advisor, mentor, consultant. I would never have really understood what that next piece was going to be, which was way more gold for her, and I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
So that was just beautiful to see where that conversation went.
Now, I know that you ask questions really well, Lynn, but for you, the stretch is, and you're doing this already, right? It's listening first, yeah, and then asking the questions. People often ask me, like, what's a powerful coaching question? I'm like, I don't know, because it depends on, you know, what you're hearing and what they're saying, what they're not saying. Yeah. And where, of course, you're going to take sort of, you know, a bit of experience, like what's the question to ask you now? But it starts with getting into that curiosity.
Yeah.
Teresa, you've taken yourself mute as well. What would you?
Yeah, it was the same thing with Lynn. So Lynn was sharing something with me that had frustrated her, and so it was the same thing where it's like, well, what, you know, getting in there to allow her to see what really is the root reason why she was frustrated for herself. But we talked about two different things. I hope that was okay to do, but I just went off on a different tangent, but it was really fun. It was too quick. I would have liked to go deeper.
I know.
I like the connection.
That's a really good segue, because we are going deeper now, because I'm going to introduce the GROW model to you. And then you're actually going to do some GROW coaching. Who here has used the GROW model before? I know, Lynn, your hand will go up. Okay, so there's only a couple of people. Now, the question now, of course, when you think about, well, when I go into a coaching conversation where I'm just wearing the coaching hat, what kind of questions would I ask? And GROW is a great model and the world's most used model to give you a bit of a structure to when to ask which question at what time. And what that means is, so GROW stands for goal, reality, options, and wrap up. And when you look at the goal-related questions, so have that PDF open that I shared in the chat before, because you're going to use this in a second, is people are actually not quite sure and clear about their goal. Now, so if we go like, what would you like to achieve? What do you want to talk about? We can't just take their first sort of, you know, a draft of this as the most helpful one. We want to ask some questions around this. So it makes meaning, it's meaningful, there's some energy around it, but also your coaching counterpart gets clear on it. Now, the next set of questions, you want to actually not go into solution mode yet, but ask questions about what's going on right now. Because if you want your coaching counterpart to come with novel solutions, not the one that they always do, but think differently, you have to help them to change perspective. And that's what reality-related questions are about. And then, of course, at some stage, you're like, I think you're ready to come up with something. So what are your options? And not just one, lots of them. This is like personal trainer stuff. What else? What else? What else? Like I demonstrated before when I, you know, did the knowing doing gap. And then, of course, the difference between mentoring and a coffee chat and coaching is, okay, what are you going to do? What are you ready? When are you going to do it? So someone can hold either themselves, they can hold themselves accountable, or someone else holds them to account. And when you look at the questions, and you have the questions now, yeah, they're goal-related questions, goal-related questions, then reality, then options, and then wrap up. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to pop you into a breakout room. So make sure you've got these questions, or at least take a screenshot right now. You're going to practice these questions. So this is not about your own questions. This is about using these questions. So it's almost like we're going to do a bit of Pilates, sort of, you know, at coaching practice here. So we're going to go into pairs. Decide who's coach first, who's coaching counterpart. Coach, read all of the questions one by one. Don't mix any in, don't leave any out, because it's about practicing these questions. Counterpart, think about, use your learning goal from today. It's the easiest, yeah, and it's also shortish, yeah. So start with that. So when you a coach asks you, what would you like to discuss? Well, my goal today is, or I want to discuss what I want to get out of it. In terms of this, what would be the ideal scenario? So get right into it. Now, counterpart, use your learning goal, your coaching goal for today. But when you answer, also remember, this is going to be 8 minutes for each party. Yeah, keep it somewhat succinct, because this activity is for the coaches to practice coaching. Yeah. So 8 minutes each for coaching each way. I'm going to pop you back into the meeting, into the breakout room. So we're just going to keep the same pairs because you're used to it and used to your counterpart. But I'm just going to change the time to 16 minutes, and I'll give you a little nudge at the end, in the middle, to swap partners. It doesn't matter how far you get through the questions, but you should be able to ask and answer most of these. So decide who's first round coach. All the questions, counterpart, have your learning goal for today ready. Yeah, Lynn?
So are we going to go through the goal, the reality, the wrap up, the options, and the wrap up questions, all of them?
Yeah, all of them. As many as you can, from goal, reality, then all of the options questions.
So go through them all with them through that pathway. Excellent.
Yeah, and ask them and just, you know, see what that feels like. What are you learning from? What are you getting from those questions? Because we're asking you to do something really uncomfortable, but it works because I've
love it. Yeah, absolutely. Just making sure everyone's with it. Okay, good.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, I'm opening the rooms now. Lynn, you join room 3 again. See you.
I will. See you in a minute, Teresa.
Well, oh, sorry, I forgot that one. Yeah. Yeah, I've got 2 minutes. You can still ask grow coaching questions without giving advice. This big shift from when you're working in an organization. So people come to you, yeah, with reality. Yeah, they go like, Jess, I need to pick your brain, can't solve this by myself. What would you do? Now, then ask these questions. Well, before I give you, you know, my 10 cents, can I ask you a couple of, wonderful. Okay. So what is the situation right now? So you ask a reality related question because you want them to expand a little bit more. Then you ask a goal question. What would you want instead? You could also ask, well, what do you need to happen that's not happening right now? But an open question to think about what, you know, a goal question. So what is one option? What else? What's your next step? By when? RGOW. This is a great, really, and that's why we call it SNAP. Takes about 3 minutes, but you're not giving them the answer. And you can always, if you're after this exercise, after asking these questions, and they're like, I still don't know, you can always give advice, but this holds you back from giving advice too fast. Yeah, and it's really well done in when, especially when it's leader as coach. So take a screenshot if you want, and then I'll stop sharing and, you know, see if there's any questions. And I think people still want to.
We'll be getting these.
I can send this out if you want. Yeah,
that would be great. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who else would like to share? And if you have to jump off, just jump off. No questions asked, of course. But what are you learning about the process of coaching, or what are you learning about yourself? Lauren, you had unmuted yourself. What are you learning?
It was really interesting. I've done my strengths accreditation.
Yes.
And so I really liked this flow of questions and how it can get that conversation going. And it's important to rush and give them the space to talk through it. But all through that, I can just see the feeding of that strengths accreditation that I've done, because you can see, like I was strength spotting when I was listening to Nicole, going, oh, I can see there's little nuances there. And it was really hard not to like jump in and go, and I'm noticing this, but I could see that how that could thread through in this when you're doing that, and how lovely they work together. That for me was really interesting. But I like the flow of the questions, and it's important to give it the space and not to rush through them as well. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Lauren, your stretch now really is, apply it. But if strengths is sort of already your focus area and you're really good at it, help your coaching counterpart to recognize those strengths as well. If you hear them, they might not. So build that into the questions and make your own questions around this as well. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren. Lauren, you worked with Nicole. Nicole, what was it like for you?
Actually, it was great. It was a really good part of the process, and I'll confess that I looked at the questions. I thought, oh gosh, I don't really know if they're all going to be like, how's that going to work? But working through that process with the questions, and I saw the way the questions helped progress the thought and the understanding and sort of that journey that Lauren took. So, I think that was a really valuable exercise.
Great. Wonderful. Yeah, it does work. I mean, we've refined these questions over 25 years. This is sort of a shorter form of it, but they work. Even as a novice coach, to just use these questions to begin with. When you have your coaching hat on, I'll pick a few of those for a coaching moment for leader as coach. But yeah, they do work. Thank you, Nicole. Kristen, how are you going to use this in your world of leading teams in banking?
I was trying to think as I was working there and how to weave the questions in a way that felt probably more natural, because I'm thinking about applying that through in with a team. But Anne was in quite a unique position because she almost talked herself through the grid as we talked. So there was one question here, one question there, and it just gave me a really good view as to how it looks when you're in that particular space, which was obviously different to where I am, and finding and verbalizing what my new situation looks like and what success looks like. But yeah, really thinking about the way you can just take those single ones to nudge things along and just round out the responses. So really good tool for me just to dust the dust off all of my tools since I transitioned out of my last role. Yeah,
wonderful. Really great to hear, Kristen. Thank you. And good luck. Just use them. Use what I've sent this out as well, and make them your own. Teresa, you were working with Lynn. What was your learning about the process of yourself as a coach and coaching leaders?
I really enjoyed asking the questions, but I also really enjoyed being asked questions as well. It does make you dig deep. It makes you really think about where you're at, how far you've come, what you're going through. It was actually a very emotional chat. So I found it I was so glad I got paired with Lynn, and the questions are fantastic. We only got to goal and reality with Lynn. So Lynn was expressing herself very openly and freely. So it was beautiful. It would have been nice to keep going. That deep connection. I think all of us as humans want that deep connection. So these questions really help, even if you weren't in a coaching situation or a work situation, but just as a friend, and you said, let's just work through these questions together and see what comes out. It'd be beautiful. Really beautiful. Thank you for today.
Since I've been coaching and progressing in coaching, I'm not just a better coach. I'm a better stepmom. I'm a better friend.
Better human.
These skills are so transferable. You make them your own, how they say in coaching, relationship is more important than the process or the questions you ask. And that we're building that relationship. The questions are your tools, right? But sorry, Teresa.
And trust. You're building trust, and that connection's a thing. And we're missing it. Humans are missing it. Our places and everything. Beautiful. Thank you so much for today.
And last but not least, what's your sharing? What's your learning?
It was so perfect for me because I've just come back from this retreat, and so even though my goal was to practice my skills as a leader and listen and radically, it applied back to what I was learning. That was the big learning for me, is this is the area I just need to focus on to be a better leader and to be a better mum. And so for me to sit in goal and reality, and I want to spend more time just sitting in goal and reality to be able to let that piece unfold, because one of the things that I'm very good at is getting through everything. And my message over the last week of working on myself is to stop forcing everything and getting to put my action and tick, tick, tick everything off, and to sit with my goal and to sit with my reality and just be. And it's a very uncomfortable place for me to be, ladies, just to be. It is. I'm struggling big time with it. So I'm going to have to do a lot of slowing down and get back into my breath work and bring back in my meditation and be, because that is going to enable me to be the leader I want to be. So thank you so much, Teresa, for not feeling it. I didn't feel one bit of pressure to move through. Wonderful. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And such vulnerability in the room, and vulnerability, means, just being open with, what's happening. But I can already feel, and this was just a taster, right? Like how you could see it work for someone else, how you can see it work for yourself. So my tip really is let this be the beginning of it, not the end of it. We're a community for a reason. So reach out if you go, actually, Teresa, Lynn, let's do this again, but let's do an hour coaching. Same with Anne and Kristen, Laura, Nicole. Catch up. You've got each other's details. Do a bit of a practice, but practice it in your environment. With family, of course, it works as well, or in your personal relationships, but definitely at work. I'll be sending out this slide so you have everything there, but it's just about applying it now. Your knowing, doing, Gav.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jess. Thank you, ladies, for all
Very
being
much,
here.
ladies. Take
I've
really
also popped into the chat box a little QR code. Just give us a feedback. It takes literally a few minutes. We would love your feedback. We really are committed to keep, are these sorts of things that you're looking for from Business Women Australia? How's your experience of this? You are the ones who are shaping this community and what we bring, and any ideas and anything else you want to learn and what you want us to be focusing on. We need you, and we need you to tell us what you want. So thank you. Thanks, Jess. You're the best. I can't wait to give you a big hug when I come over to Melbourne next.
I know.
Over there.
I'll see you very soon. Wonderful.
Thank you, ladies, for being here, and well done you for investing in you, for being here.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Lauren. Bye-bye, Anne.
Hey, Anne, do you want to stand for a couple of minutes?
Sure.
I'll just stop the recording. How are things going?
My